Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we're on the website of Gardiner Houlgate Auctioneers based in the UK, and we're going to have a look at one of their latest auctions, which is a general musical instrument sale. Loads of lots in this, 528 lots, and this is finishing on the 14th of June. It's the 11th today, so a few days left to go. I'll put a link into the description as always. Now, Gardiner Houlgate have had loads of auctions going on at the moment. One actually finished today. They've had 4 guitar auctions lined up, the one on the 11th, one on the 12th, one on the 13th, and there's actually an antique guitar auction happening just before this musical instrument one starts at 11 AM, so they're going crazy. Crazy amounts of lots as always, so we're just going to have to skim through this as quickly as possible really. The buyer's premium is 26.4%, so you need to add that to the final hammer price to find out what price you're going to pay. This is a UK based auction, so bear in mind import, export fees, shipping, etc., so that you don't get hit with any nasty surprises. If you do enjoy these videos, please consider subscribing, like, comment, turn on notifications, etc., because it really does help. Because there's so many lots and we don't want to be doing this forever, I'm just going to pick out a few things and just kind of acknowledge a few things here and there. Going to do nothing too crazy. But if you have any questions or anything, please let me know. And if you want me to cover anything in the future, just tell me. Otherwise, I'm just going to do my own thing as I always do. Right, so starting off, ridiculous amount of banjos here. Vega, Windsor, more Vega kind of standard stuff. Sometimes they have some really nice high-level Gibson banjos and a few other ones here. We're seeing standard kind of stuff here at the moment. Barnes and Mullen, Clifford, etc. Not that I'm an expert on banjos at all, really not, but Windsor, these are all fairly standard. Let's see if there's anything here. Right, so we have a rare French Bartolo Bassato tenor banjo, 600 to 800, quite nice decoration there on the back. That is the estimate. This is one of those auctions where people do place bids sometimes before the auction starts, but it's pretty uncommon. Most of the bids happen during the auction. Another interesting banjo here, Stromberg Deluxe Long Scale, 20 fret. It's again quite nice decoration on that one. The estimate on that is 700 to 900, so that's pretty curious. Let's have a look what else we've got here. So Windsor again, more oh, it's quite a nice Clifford Essex here, Paragon original tenor banjo there, 2.5 to 3.5. I really need to watch some of these auctions at some point to see what these actually sell for, because I really do not know the market at all. But 5 people are watching. Quite interesting that you can see that on that. It's quite interesting to see how many people might be competing for something you're interested in. I guess it drives up competition. More other stuff, George Houghton there, Bacon and Day, which can be like pretty nice as well actually. 700 to 900 on that, nice back. This is quite interesting actually. Ode long neck model. That's quite interesting. Jerry Webb open back body. Or Windsor Epiphone. Okay, interesting Epiphone there. Windsor Monarch. I said not seen any crazy Gibsons so far, so maybe not in this auction. Here's a few other kind of groups of some resonator banjos, etc. Portuguese guitar there, that's interesting. Fretless 5-string banjo, Irish bouzouki there, let's have a look at that. By and labelled Ted Barnes, maker of stringed instruments, 1995. Okay, interesting. You do see some pretty cool stuff at Gardiner Houlgate, to be fair. Banjola, okay, that's interesting. A few random bits. Interesting drum kit actually. Eddie Ryan, 1988, signed custom-made 5-piece drum kit. Okay, it's curious. Some concertinas as always, Lacanol. Mandolin, let's have a look at that. Modern mandolin, labelled Martin Cole Luthier. 5 to 700 on that. Jupiter Creek Ovation Breadwinner style instruments there. Zither banjo. Let's have a look at this. Curious and rare instrument, Petit Claviphone. Okay. Dumont, 2 to 400. Curious little thing. Music stand there. That's quite an interesting brass case drum with 6 iron tensioners. 50 to 80 on that. A bit of a novelty item, like that. Mute practice keyboard there. Tambourine accord with 6 strings. Okay, current bids on that, so someone's interested in that one. There are collectors of these things. Page turns, that's interesting. Forte piano or harpsichord tuner, that's quite curious. Bits and pieces. Musical glasses. Harmonium. Brass and iron harpist stool. Looks like quite a nice bit of engineering there, really, more than anything else. Pretty cool. Quite interesting. More music stands, so we've done that page pretty quickly. Contemporary instruments here. Mandola, etc. Another kind of concertina there. So here is one of the most interesting items, I think, in this auction. This is an extremely rare lute by Magnus Helmer of Fusen from 1601. 20 to 30,000 of that. Lute was formerly the property of Sebastian Eisep, renowned picture conservator and chief restorer at the Kunsthistorische Museum in Vienna. So this is a pretty ridiculous lute with an ivory kind of bowl back. So really quite an important instrument that probably should be in a museum or something. So let's hope that someone buys that. 9 watching, so 20 to 30. Yeah, really interesting item. I don't know how they do it, but Gardiner Houlgate, they always seem to get some pretty interesting stuff in their auction. So that is definitely worth looking at alone. Couple of accordions and things. Let's just go back to the main thing so we can speed up. We've somehow lost our train of thought here, so we need to go back to page 2. Load more accordions here. I don't think we'll get too much into those at the moment. There obviously are going to be some quite nice ones there. Orsini, quite interesting. Couple of mandolins there, but nothing too crazy. Okay, let's have a look at this good Neapolitan mandolin by and labelled Giuseppe Vernaccia, 6 to 800. Beautiful vaulted back on that. That seems very low actually for a Vernaccia mandolin. 6 watching on that. So I think that could be quite a good purchase for someone. Modern lute there. Don't know if there's any maker. Let's see what else we've got here. Another Portuguese guitar. Interesting kind of harp uke thing. Famous electric mandolin. Some other banjos here. Okay, this is an interesting one. So, a fine modern Cicerone by and labelled Stephen Gottlieb. Like very regarded maker of these kind of instruments. Beautiful looking instrument. There's 6 watching on that. I'm sure there'll be bids on that. 3 to 5. Made 1992. Yeah, I reckon that's probably a very nice instrument. Definitely quite a respected maker. So interesting to see that there. Some bits and pieces. Okay, we've got a good small portable cymbalom by Lajos Bohak. Interesting. The owner of this cymbalom has been a player for over 40 years, mainly on movie soundtracks. Okay. Interesting. And 1,000 to 1,500 is the estimate there. Got a square piano by John Hills of London, circa 1815. Good to see a square piano, not a Broadwood. 1,500 to 2,000. Piano was restored by David Winston of the Period Piano Company. Okie dokie. Only 1 square piano is credited to Hills, which is probably this instrument. Okay, so it might be quite rare. 6 watching on that. Don't know what the current kind of demand is for these kind of things, but I'm sure that might sell. DW drums kit there. I think they're quite expensive drums. Modern kit built spinet there. General condition is a little poor. Okay, not really selling it there. Couple more banjo related things. A rare Chris Eccles Hall solid body mandolin, 450 to 560 there. Okay, another concertina there. Good modern 3-row Anglo concertina by Suitner Concertinas, number 436. Current bid 750. Wow, so that's obviously important. It's amazing how these keep their value, some of these better quality ones. Really quite curious. Got a Gibson banjo mandolin there. So some other bits and pieces here. A few more concertinas, some cymbals. Got some flutes appearing now, and some woodwind. And also kind of metal flutes there. See if there's anything super interesting coming up. There's so much stuff in this auction, it's untrue. Silver patent flute there. Let's see, Ruddle and Cart there. 400 to 600 the estimate there. A few bits and pieces. More flutes. More bits and pieces there. Good solid silver flute by and stamped Marigot, made by SML Paris. English rosewood flute there. By and stamped Fenton. Fentum even. Rosewood piccolo, clarinets here. See what else we've got here. The recorder collection of Franz Bruggen. Okay. With drawings by Frederick Morgan. Okay. Interesting. See what else we got here. 2 Malon bassoons in need of some restoration. 150 to 250. Current bid 130. So we've got some bassoon interest here. Saxophone. Silver plated mellophone. English boxwood and ivory single flageolet there. Another Selmer saxophone there. Another Selmer with a soprano type, alto and soprano. Some mouthpiece bits and bobs. Some trumpet related things and some more generic kind of clarinets. Some other bits and pieces. Cocos wood flute. This is quite interesting. Rare and early 18th century tenor oboe attributed to Thomas Stainsby, who is the person that you really want to get. 4 watches on that, 1 to 2000. Interesting and rare American double bell euphonium. Okay. Good Hawks and Son cornet. Yep, let's see what else is going on here. More clarinets. We're just having to blitz through this. Flageolets here, English flageolet. This is really quite cool actually. English boxwood and ivory flageolet by and stamped Bainbridge. That's quite nice, 50 to 80 on that. 3 watching, starting bids 40. Once again, I've never really watched these auctions to know how much this stuff goes for, so curious to know. A French flageolet, good boxwood and ivory tenor double flageolet, current bid 240 on that, so that's popular. Sure, there's definitely a market for it. Good cocos wood B flat flute with curved head joint. Okay. I mean, if you know wind instruments, you know what all of that means, but for me, not that au fait with it. Good cocos wood flute by and stamped Ruddle and Rose, 1500 to 2000 on that. It's already got bids, 7 watching, so it's popular. Some more stuff. Right, we're on to violin related things here. 20th century 3/4. I think we're going to skip through a lot of this stuff unless there's anything really super interesting. German stuff. They're usually the first bunch of these is pretty generic. So we'll move on to other stuff a bit more later. French violin Carlsen School. Let's have a look at this. Interesting violin in need of restoration. Labelled Joseph Delaglio. 2 to 400 on that. Who knows what's going on there? 35.6 length of back. German violins here. Marknenkirche. Let's see. 19th century English violin. 120 to 160. 36.4. It's quite big length of back. See more stuff here. Bits and bobs. Always worth looking at the bits and bobs section of Gardiner Houlgate. Can be some pretty interesting stuff. For the moment, we're just going to go through it just because there's too many lots in this auction. Some more kind of German stuff. French viola. Let's have a look at this. Interesting late 19th century violin in need of some restoration. 2 to 300 there, 35.2 length of back. I think there's good opportunities in Gardiner Houlgate actually to buy some interesting instruments if you can be bothered to wade through it all. Usually I'd spend a bit more time, but a bit time pressed at the moment. But it looks quite interesting. Looks like inked purfling violin, but yeah, has some interesting parts to it. Once again, I've never actually won anything from Gardiner Houlgate. I think I've bid a couple of times and always been outbid. So some auctions I think you're just not lucky at winning. And Gardiner Houlgate so far has been that. Some bits and bobs here, lots of tools, cases, etc. More kind of mass loads of instruments there. 3 English full-size amateur violins, so whole load of stuff there. Sure that kind of stuff just gets bought and then sold separately on eBay or something like that, so not uncommon for that to happen. Let's see what else we got here. More 19th century stuff. Let's have a quick look at this. 19th century violin labelled Nicholas Lupo. Going to have loads of bows at some point, I suspect. So more kind of standard stuff here. Let's see if there's anything super interesting. 19th century English violin in need of restorations, 100 to 200 there, and sold with some other kind of item. Nothing really jumping out at the moment. 19th century violin labelled Matthew Hardy, Edinburgh. Interesting. Looking back going on there. Whole load of wood if anyone's interested in wood or some wood. 19th century violin labelled Tom Carcasso with interesting decorated back there. That's a kind of curious one. Another one with a decorated back, so we're getting a few of these around. Don't think they're anything too special, sadly. More kind of fairly standard stuff. Like, I dare say some of this stuff is actually probably pretty good, but you just got to take the time to have a look at it, and we don't really have the time at the moment. Let's have a look at this. English violin stamped Corsby, Northampton, below the button. Could be fairly interesting, that one. Quite poor with numerous soundposts and other cracks in the table. Oh dear. So that has some problems. Once again, some more bits and bobs. So clearly some violin makers' supplies there. But we shall carry on because there's a million things to look at as always. But an interesting auction. I think it's definitely worth looking at. Some more tools and things here. At some point I will probably, if I get time over the next couple of days, look back over this auction and see if there's anything really interesting or not. Lots of tools and bits and bobs here. books as well. So a real good selection of things for sure. More books and loads of bow bundles here. Also lots of bows. Once again, not going to get too into bows unless there's something really interesting. Let's have a quick look at this. French nickel mounted violin bow, Auguste Husson. It's got the certificates and things there, so that's interesting. More French bows here. Good silver mounted viola bow stamped. Oh, Jan Kudanowski, interesting. 800 to 1000. Got a nice head on it. He's an interesting character. Let's see what else we got here. Fine English golden ivory mounted violin bow by and stamped John Clutterbuck. Interesting. One watching on that. Good silver mounted bow, silver mounted cello bow. Let's have a look at that. Stamped indistinctly NVDEN M Adam 1200 to 1600 on that. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Definitely looks like some potential bows here. Let's have a look. So let's have a quick look at this one. Silver mounted violin bow stamped Colin Mazat, 100 to 140 on that. Let's see what else we've got here. Definitely looks like some potential things here. So if you've got a bit of time on your hands, have a look. Oh, it's a German gold mounted bow here. By and stamped Gunter A. Paulus. Okay, that could be quite good value bow there. Right, on to instruments here. Actually, let's have a look at this good English silver mounted cello bow by and stamped. P. Tunnicliffe. Okay, interesting. I think it's meant to read B because that's Brian Tunnicliffe even, not P. But anyway, yeah, Brian Tunnicliffe seems to be churning out bows at the moment, and I think he's quite old. Not that matters, but yeah, he's doing well, I think, for his age, still churning stuff out. See more violins here. Let's have a look at this. English violin, circa 1950, labelled Joseph Guarnerius. So we're into the better territory now. Lots of stuff here. Interesting violin, circa 1830, possibly Bohemian. Okie dokie. Let's see what else we've got here. Lots of curious things. Interesting 18th century Italian composite violin, labelled Franciscus de Emilianis. Okie dokie, 1,000 to 200 and that. 3 people watching. Let's see what else we got here. There's definitely some cool stuff here. English violin by and labelled William Heaton, 600 to 800 on that. Few watches on that one as well. Interesting English violin of the Forster School in need of restoration, 500 to 750 on that. Let's see what else we've got here. And interesting violin, circa 1800. Okay. Tyrolean violin, circa 1800. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? Lots of kind of English stuff. English violin by and labelled Ernest Torr, Liverpool, 1924. Quite curious corners on that. Okay, a fine Pardisus de Viol by and labelled Dietrich Kessler there. 2 to 3 they want on that. Interesting. A few more curious violins here. This is quite cool. Interesting 18th century English viol viola labelled Baroque Norman, 2 to 400. That's pretty cool. That's quite funky. Lots of other interesting English stuff here. 18th century stuff. That's quite narrow. It's kind of endless, really. Interesting and rare Scottish violin with inked purfling. It's called Alex Duncan. Okay. And more stuff here. This is a curious violin. This one has been through Brompton's, Amati, and now it's in Gardiner Houlgate, so it just seems to be doing the rounds, which is curious. Right now it's saying interesting late 18th, early 19th century violin, possibly Dutch. Okay. Well, it's keeps on changing its attribution, so definitely worth watching out on these things. Right, we're on to the last page now. That's a pretty curious pochette there. I mean, this has been a very brief run through and not particularly inspired run through, just because there's so much stuff in this auction. It's just getting a bit mad really at this point. Good English violin by and labelled, made by AC Lancaster, 800 to 1500 on that. Let's see what else we've got here. Interesting violin, Tyrolese. Let's have a look at this one. Interesting violin. It's like 1800, 1500 to 2500 there. Okay. That's a curious one. That definitely needs some work to it. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Good violin, labelled and probably by Giuseppe Corsi, Roma. 3 watching that. 2.5 to 3.5 on that one. More bits and pieces. Got some cellos here. Have a look at this. Interesting old cello with 5-ply purfling. Okay, that's curious. 700 to... Cool scroll on that. 700 to 1000. And let's see what else we got here. Another interesting early English cello of the Kennedy Workshop. On 1100 to 1400 on that. Definitely needs a bit of work on that. Let's see what else we've got here. A few other kind of interesting cellos. Let's have a look at this one. Good modern English cello by William Piper. Okay. German, interesting late 18th century cello, indistinctly labelled, 1500 to 2500 on that. That's quite a curious scroll. See, I've got a couple of double basses as well. Interesting old English double bass, circa 1830. Definitely needs a bit of work there. Flank of wood missing on the treble side. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Last few. This is quite interesting. 19th century double bass, probably English. Quite like that actually. 5 watching that, yeah. 3000 starting, 4 to 6 on that. That's a really interesting looking bass actually. I think that is pretty cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, very interesting. So my summary is that actually, especially in terms of kind of bowed stringed instruments, there's some pretty good stuff in this auction, but you really need to spend your time and wade through it because there's a lot of it. I don't have time at the moment, or at least not for this video, to look through, but I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for instruments, that you could see some good stuff at Gardiner Houlgate, so definitely check it out. So thanks a lot for watching, really appreciate it. Sorry I just completely sped through this one really quickly, but time is kind of a bit precious at the moment. But link is in the description. Do check out the catalogue. If I missed anything you think, oh, you should have looked at that, then please tell me. And like I said, when I get more time, I'm able to spend more time to look through the catalogues, but this one is a bit difficult. But I can just say it looks very interesting, definitely worth checking out. Thanks a lot for watching, really appreciate it. I'll catch you next time. Bye.